What's up, everybody? The Boys is back with season 4 and a Homelander that's more unhinged than ever. There will, of course, be spoilers for all 3 episodes from the premiere, so you've been warned. Now let's dive into this crazy comic book world. I'm going to start on episode 1 here, and I'll go through all my pros and cons on each episode as we go through the review. So let's start with my cons for episode 1, which I have very few of for all 3 episodes. But my only one here for episode 1 is that it just felt a bit slow. Now, this isn't all that unnatural. I feel about this like a whole lot of first episodes, like a whole lot of them are slow, but you know, it's rarely ever felt that way for the boys, if ever, so it was an odd feeling to kick off this season. That's all though, that's my only complaint, and I'd say it's a rather minor one, so let's get into what I liked about the first episode. Kicking this off is going to be Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming in as Joe Kessler, having a pretty limited amount of screen time in this episode and stealing the show. You knew he was going to do it, but when he actually does it, it's so fucking awesome, and I can't wait to see him throughout this season after just 3 episodes and barely any of him. Then there's the introduction to Huey's mom when she shows up at the hospital after his dad has a stroke. I really like this introduction here, and there's some more of his mom in episodes 2 and 3 that I will talk about a little bit, but this scene right here where she shows up was so damn good. There was also Old Reliable being great in this episode, though, as both Butcher and Homelander were absolutely amazing. Carl Urban and Anthony Starr have come into those roles so damn well over the course of the show, and those two were, without a doubt, the highlight of this whole premiere. But that's not to say they were the only good parts, because the entire cast is just like them, having settled into their roles, and it's just like clockwork now. For the most part, that is obviously, as you know, we did have some newcomers this season, but they're pretty good as well. Moving on to episode 2 now. Just like episode 1, I'll start with the cons, and again, I only have one here because I thought this was a really strong premiere. That one thing was Huey's mom. This is why I was trying to put so much emphasis on, that great moment where she shows up in episode 1, because after that, it's kind of downhill. I didn't love the casting choice with Rosemary DeWitt joining the cast in the role. I just didn't think she matched what Jack Quaid and Simon Pegg have been bringing to the Campbell family over the seasons. That's all I've got to complain about again, though, and a little spoiler for episode 3. I didn't have any cons for it, but let's get into what I liked about episode 2 before I get ahead of myself here. This episode stepped it up when it came to the action. In my opinion, it's not that it was bad in the first episode, but it's really good here and even better in the third episode. Kimiko losing it a bit was really cool to see again in that big fight with Firecracker and all the naked duplicates versus the boys was just everything this show's supposed to be. Then, circling back to Kimiko, I loved her little side story in this episode and what it sets up for, I'm assuming, later this season, maybe next season, I'm not sure, but I really liked her kind of getting derailed by seeing the shining light stuff at the con, and then a young woman who I'm assuming was with her when everything that made her who she is now happened to her. She sees her again. It was awesome. But my favorite part of the episode had to be watching Homelander trying to parent Ryan, and again, it all comes down to Anthony Starr. He's just so damn good in this role, and his little father-son talk after Ryan splats his stuntman during his first save was just golden. Alright, before we get into the third and final episode of the premiere, I wanted to take a second to thank you for stopping by the Nerdverse. I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you are, I'd appreciate it greatly if you subscribe to the channel to show your support in the freest and easiest way possible. Once again, thank you for stopping by the Nerdverse. Now let's get back to the boys. As I said before, I have nothing to complain about for episode 3 here, so I'm just going to dive straight into my pros section. Kicking this off is going to be Victoria Newman's side story in these episodes. First off, Claudia Dumit, who I'm sure I mispronounced her name, I'm sorry. In this role, she's absolutely phenomenal. But then you pair her up with Anthony Starr for a very intriguing Homelander times Newman story, and I'm so goddamn curious to see where this is going to lead, but also, I think I got a good feeling I know where it's headed. Then, there's A-Train potentially flipping sides after he gave Starlight the evidence to clear the names of her Starlighters, and then this talk with MM. I gotta say, too, This scene was one of the best from these 3 episodes and one of the most genuine moments in the show for me personally, so a job well done by Jesse T. Usher and Laz Alonso. But much like episode 2, this episode shined when there was action as we got 2 amazing sequences. The first was both epic and hilarious as we get to witness stoned Frenchie roaming around a warehouse while Kimiko kicks ass. But the second one, which was it wasn't really a fight, it was more so just chaos, was even better as Homelander goes nuts when he figures out Huey is listening to his meeting at the ice rink with Newman. And this show just never fails to amaze you with the blood and the guts and the gore it puts on display. There was something, also something I really liked in here that I didn't expect to happen, or even like, I guess, and it was Butcher bonding with Ryan. It was a great sequence where Billy gets real for once, with a great performance from both Carl Urban and Cameron Cravati, making the scene even better. Finally, maybe my favorite thing that's ever happened on this show, Homelander mirror. Now, this might not be the craziest thing like on paper, but Anthony Starr is Homelander times five. I mean, okay, imagine this. Imagine like the movie Inside Out, but all the emotions, they're Homelanders. That's this, and I need more of it this season because it's just so fucking good. And so that'll do it for my review of the first 3 episodes from season 4 of The Boys. A real good start for the show with all the right amount of craziness, comedy, and blood for this show. Let me know what you thought of the episodes though down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.